Welcome back on Diamond. Today I want to propose you a video about unboxing review about the White Dwarf issue 472 of January 2022. Finally, I received such White Dwarf because there's been a bit of problems about the delivery of such issues. So finally, I can bring you such White Dwarf. And the first thing to see is that inside there are 3 cards that are secondary objective related about the current tournament of Notchbound, and we can see them are these ones. As you can see, there are quite a lot. We have also other here, and we have other here. So we have a lot of secondary objective. I don't like that there are in such way, because they are problematic about reading the White Dwarf, and so detach from here. Moreover, it's a problem because they are in 3 different parts instead of together. So I prefer that when they do something like this, at least there is something like a letter bringing or so on that we see in other numbers, so that they can be separate put and it's not everything together, because otherwise it risks also to be ruined or lost something of this delivering the White Dwarf themselves. So I don't like such way. Still, they are really quite interesting and can add a lot about the way that you can play the game and so on about Warhammer 40k. So it's really quite interesting in that way. And now we can begin about seeing the contents inside such White Dwarf. The cover has a word bearer, but if we can flip and we can find the alternative cover, that is this one, that where we can see the Gestealer cults against the ones about the cult mechanicus. So it can be really quite interesting as an option, because it's quite nice as alternative cover. So in this case, I don't know if I like the original one or this special one, but I think that I prefer a little better this one. Remember that to have such special alternative cover, you have to make a subscription about the White Dwarf. So the ones that you receive will have the alternative cover and not any writing on the cover itself, and it's quite nice. Here the introduction about what are inside this White Dwarf, and here the contents. There are a lot of interesting ones. Here we can find the mailing list of the readers to the White Dwarf itself, and we can find really a lot of interesting things, because here we have the option about to read, because it's not important about the tracks or so on, but what you can be inspired about, because you can find a lot of bases that can be useful, scheme of colors or other options to create dioramas and so on, that can be really quite interesting. So I suggest always to see these ones, because they can give you for all the games some ideas that you can adapt, or maybe take some tip about and then make something else, or use some scheme of colors eventually. And really you can create dioramas so on that it's not the same, but it's recalling an idea that you've seen here. So I think that can be quite interesting. Then we have this, that is the introduction about Warhammer 40k session here, that see the Ultramarines Primaris ones against the Chaos. And here we can find the Tale of 4 Warlords, that it improves quite a lot the amount of pieces that you have in the armies for the ones that are going to play. And here, for example, we have these that are the Aggressors. And about the Aggressors, I want to remind you that I created a video about how to create and monetize, for example, the missile launchers, that can be quite useful, and monetize the model itself, and eventually to paint as Blood Angels armor if you're interested about. So it can be quite interesting, and you can find it in the description. Here some adding about the Tokt Dynasty, that it's one that I really like, even if my scheme of color it's a bit toward the classic green one, but still I like a lot. And also about my scheme of color, you can find the link in the description if you're interested about. Here we have something about the sororitas, and then we have the part about the orcs with this, that it's a big piece from the Forgewood, that it's quite amazing one. And then we can find the armies till now that has been proposed by the ones that are going to participate to the 4 Warlords. So we can find a lot of things that can be quite interesting. And I suggest you to see about this, because maybe you can find some scheme of color, some ideas, some basing, or simply some model that you haven't thought to have, but then you see here and you like. For example, here there is the two sororitas that it's really quite amazing, and here the one about the orcs. So each one has a different theme in the army, and I really like as it has been done. Here instead we can find about the Warhammer 40k campaign of Dashmood with the flashpoint, so a lot of background. This will flip, and as you can see there is quite a lot of things. I like, for example, this because it's a sort of poster, but also quite amazing one, and there are a lot of description about the words that participate in this campaign and so on. So there is quite a lot to see, and I think that it can be really quite amusing to read, with, for example, here also a background relative one about the Imperial Guard, and you can find a lot of Battletome Militarum, but it's really quite interesting because after the background and so on we can find also the rules to improve with the Crusade, and there are a lot of things in here that are really quite interesting. And then here we have a battle report that are about the Death Guard against the Imperial Knight and the Aptetus Sororitas. Sincerely, in the future I think that I'll bring you some videos about the Death Guard, because I have some pieces, because Warhammer Conquest that finally I finished to collect. So I'll bring you something, because I think that I'll try to create some modifications, some magnetizing or so on related about the Death Guard. And here we can find so a really interesting one, because it will allow also to see how it's played. So it's a good way if you are going to play, for example, Warhammer 40k, to have a referral about how they're used from the game social itself, rules and so on, or if you don't play Warhammer 40k, to know the game and so understand better. Moreover, I like a lot because with these images you can find some ideas about how to paint, for example, dioramas, shining elements, or simply how to make some photos that can be dynamic about some game that you want to create. So I think that it's really quite interesting, and I really like a lot. And then we can find this, that it's about Kill Team with new rules, background and rules related about the cult of Generaptors. So also here we can find a lot of things that can be really quite interesting for the ones that are interested not only about Kill Team, that you can, I can say, like or not the game itself, but also a bit of background about how they work as Generaptor cult. So I think that it can be really quite interesting, and the images can be quite interesting too. So here there are a lot of things that you can appreciate if you like such game. As you can see, we have these ones that I talked before, and then we can move on with these rules. So for the ones that are going to play Kill Team, this it's a must-have number. There is the way to paint these Generaptor cult models, and I think that even if it's quite simple as options, it can be quite interesting, because you can have these for having some ideas about how to paint, for example, this type of texture, or for example the dynamite or so on. So there are a lot of things that I suggest you don't have to use necessarily such colors, but it's a way to understand how you can reach such effect, so it can be a good referral. And then we move on the Age of Sigmar part, with mainly related about the Ossiarch Bonereapers. I like a lot to see, for example, these images, because there are some details that can be really quite amazing. For example, these details for the palaces and shining elements and so on, that I am really curious if in the future the Game Workshop will release, because they're really quite interesting ones. And here we have a bit of background about the Ossiarch Empire that I really like. I'm collecting an army of Ossiarchs, and I'm bringing, because I leave you in the description also my scheme of colors about the Crematorians, for example, that I developed, because I really love the Crematorians for the Ossiarch Bonereapers, and I'm collecting an army. And here there is a lot of background with before the background about the Ossiarch Empire, and now related mainly with this Tom selection about the Ossiarch Bonereapers, that make you understand, if you never thought to have the Battletome Ossiarch about the Ossiarch, a bit of background about it, so that you can understand better how they developed along the years. And here the new rules to play the Ossiarch Bonereapers. It's an upgrade, believe me, it's really an important upgrade for the Ossiarch Bonereapers. About this, I have yet released, because I wasn't able to receive this on time, the part about my analysis for this update, and you can find it in the description, so it's easier to find and read. But believe me, I not read about the open play and the path to glory part, but about the match play. It's something that it's really quite important to see. And here we have a campaign that talk about the tight takers, so the Ossiarch Bonereapers. And I think that can be really quite interesting for the ones that play it, because it allows you to develop. I'm not fun about playing such campaigns, because I'm still in a pandemic mode, but I really love that it's developed in such a way so that you can perfect. Here there is a talk where Louis Aguilan talk with Javid Johnson. Okay, it should be on, I can say, free time, because it's not working Javid Johnson with the Game Social anymore, but still there is sometimes that talk and participate in the articles still, so it's difficult to leave your own creator. And here instead we have about how to personalize your models related about winter, and I really like this because it makes you understand a lot about how you can perform with the Eskimo colors, how you can paint, combine or so, for example for the base to create something peculiar or the shiny elements. So there are a lot of things that are quite interesting. Moreover, there are a lot of interesting parts about how to convert. For example, think about this, that can be interesting. This basing, that can be nice. These are simple ones, so I don't talk about. But one that I really like is this one, because it's quite simple and let you, for example, save some parts that maybe you have more than once. So you can create something peculiar and still having quite interesting place to put your army, because for example think about this little conversion, or these are simple ones but they can make you having a great nice effect in your army to put. So there are a lot of simple ones, as you can see this, but at the same time they are really quite amazing. Here we have another part of Black Library, this case related about the Tomb Keeper, that I want to remember you have been released lately, the official rules how to play the Tomb Keeper, and this is background related by the Black Library. So it's quite interesting to see something that it's born from the page of the White Dwarf being promoted to be official background, because it's really quite interesting. And remember about the articles of the Black Library, I really like because it's a way to know new themes. For example, if you don't know some army or so on, it can be a good way to understand better, or to know, for example, if you read something that you didn't like about a certain army with a different author, you can appreciate it. So I think that it can be really quite interesting to see, because they can give you a lot of options that can be quite good to create your army, perfection your one, or have new info. I think that it's really quite interesting one. Here we have the Inside the Studio that make you see something that we will see in the future White Dwarfs, and so we'll see a lot of things. And I can anticipate you that in the next White Dwarf, but I have yet done the review about it, we'll find the part about the Beast of Chaos upgrade, so something quite interesting. So what to say about such White Dwarf? I think that it's really quite interesting. If you are playing, or you're interested because you play just more competitive one or so on, or campaigns, it's quite amazing because there are the Ossiarch Bonereapers, and believe me, this is a must-have for the ones that play Ossiarch Bonereapers. You can't forget about this one missing or so on, because it's important, and it's one of the reasons because I insisted to have this delivered even if was lost in the warp, because I was really interested about such development. Even if I have all the information, I wanted to have the source, because there is also the background that I'm interested about. Moreover, if you are going to play the kit team, there is the part about the cult of Generaptor that I think that can be quite interesting, because it's a way to promote even more the part about what you know. And moreover, with the release of the new Battletome, the Tyranids that has been released after this, but in my case I seen the Tyranid Codex released before than this number, it can be quite interesting. Moreover, I'm developing and I'm going to publish more and more videos about Shadow Bile, so it's a way to learn more about how the Tyranid can work against the Imperium using the cult of Generaptors themselves. So I really suggest you to have this number, because there are a lot of background, a lot of rules that you can be interested about, a lot of ideas how to convert, and eventually how to paint. So it's a must to have for specific meaning. So if you are going to play the Genestealer Cult or Kill Team, I think that it's a must-have. If you are going to play with or against the Ossiarch Bonereapers, it's a must-have. Otherwise, you have the option to choose. Anyway, it's really something that I'm glad to add, because I was missing in my collection about the White Dwarf, and finally that hole has been filled with this issue. Anyway, from Dino Mode, it's everything. I invite you to put a like on this video, to subscribe to the channel, to ring the bell, and to comment this video if you are interested in something about this video, or you want to suggest me some arguments for other videos. I hope to see you again to the next time.